In this podcast episode, Morgan Housel discusses timeless lessons about human psychology, particularly in the context of risk, wealth, and happiness. He emphasizes the importance of understanding the unpredictability of the future and the role of surprises in shaping history and individual lives. Housel points out that people are generally bad at predicting the future, especially when it comes to major events such as economic recessions, stock market crashes, or geopolitical crises. He argues that the surprises tend to be the most impactful events, and they are often unforeseen. Housel highlights the fragility of history and the future, using examples such as the start of World War II, the 9/11 attacks, and the Great Depression. He explains that seemingly insignificant factors, such as the direction of the wind or the chewing of wires by field mice, can have profound and unforeseen consequences. This leads to the conclusion that the future is inherently unpredictable, and it is essential to acknowledge the limitations of our ability to foresee major events. The discussion then shifts to the concept of risk and the importance of managing expectations. Housel suggests that individuals and society as a whole should prepare for unforeseen events by maintaining a greater buffer or contingency in their risk profile. He emphasizes the need to recognize the game of constantly readjusting expectations and the role of envy in driving human behavior. Housel also explores the idea that the pursuit of happiness is often driven by anticipation rather than the actual experience, citing examples of vacations and other life events. The conversation delves into the concept of wealth and the relative nature of prosperity. Housel argues that there is no such thing as objective wealth, as people's perceptions of wealth are shaped by their comparisons to others. He uses the example of John D. Rockefeller and the modern working-class American to illustrate how wealth is relative and influenced by social comparisons. This leads to the conclusion that wealth is not an absolute measure, but rather a comparative one, influenced by one's social and cultural context. Housel also touches on the role of anticipation in generating happiness, drawing from examples of vacations and the dopamine response to future experiences. He discusses the importance of managing expectations and recognizing the role of envy in driving human behavior. The conversation continues with a reflection on the nature of happiness and the pursuit of contentment in the face of constantly readjusting expectations. Housel emphasizes the importance of trajectory over position, noting that rapid changes in status and wealth can lead to a higher bar for future success. He also discusses the concept of hidden and observable metrics, where people often trade hidden aspects of life, such as quality of relationships and peace of mind, for observable metrics like salary and material possessions. He suggests that tracking hidden metrics can help individuals prioritize what truly matters for their well-being. The podcast delves into the idea of managing expectations, with Housel sharing his observation from working as a valet at a luxury hotel. He realized that people were more concerned with how they were perceived by others rather than actually admiring the luxury cars they drove. This led him to recognize that people are often preoccupied with their own circumstances and appearances rather than paying attention to others. As a result, he advises listeners to be mindful of their own desires and expectations, as they may be influenced by a need for external validation. Housel also discusses the tendency for people to admire extreme personalities who have achieved great success, but he warns against overlooking the negative aspects of their lives. He shares examples of famous individuals who excelled in their fields but had personal struggles, highlighting the trade-offs that come with extreme success. He encourages listeners to consider role models who lead balanced and fulfilling lives, even if they are not widely recognized or celebrated. The podcast touches on the concept of probability and the challenge of accepting uncertainty. Housel explains that people often seek certainty and binary outcomes, leading to a tendency to view events as either right or wrong. He uses the example of election predictions to illustrate how probabilities are often misunderstood, emphasizing the importance of thinking in terms of likelihood rather than absolutes. One of the key takeaways from the podcast is the concept of certainty and how people are drawn to individuals who speak with confidence and certainty, even if their predictions or opinions are not accurate. Housel explains that people are often more attracted to individuals who present themselves with certainty, even if their ideas are not based on solid evidence. This tendency to seek certainty can lead to misinformation and false beliefs. Housel also discusses the power of storytelling and how it can be used to leverage complex topics. He provides examples of how individuals like Ken Burns and Steve Jobs use storytelling to make their ideas more compelling and accessible to a wider audience. Housel emphasizes that a good story can often be more powerful than raw data, as it can synthesize complex information and make it more relatable and understandable. The podcast also delves into the concept of irrational behavior and how it can impact decision-making. Housel uses the example of the Battle of the Bulge during World War II to illustrate how the Allied generals underestimated the irrational behavior of their opponents, leading to a significant military setback. This example highlights the importance of understanding the emotional and irrational aspects of human behavior in various situations. Another key takeaway from the podcast is the idea that success is often attributed to a combination of factors, including luck, timing, and individual characteristics. Housel emphasizes that success is not solely based on rational decision-making, but also on external factors and circumstances that are often beyond our control. The conversation then shifts to the idea that human behavior is not always rational and predictable. Housel emphasizes that logic has its limits, and our ability to be rational and make predictions is often challenged by factors that cannot fit inside a model. He provides examples such as the decision-making process of the Germans during World War II and the performance of athletes under high-stakes situations, illustrating how emotions and unpredictability play a significant role in human behavior. Housel also discusses the impact of anxiety and stress on performance, citing examples of professional athletes and musicians who experience physical symptoms such as vomiting before high-stakes events. He highlights the importance of understanding the psychological factors that influence performance and decision-making, emphasizing that mindset and emotional state can significantly impact outcomes. The podcast also delves into the concept of success and the paradox of pursuing recognition and accolades. Housel explains how the desire for validation and prestige often leads to comparison and anxiety, particularly in the age of social media. He discusses the detrimental effects of industrial-scale comparison facilitated by social media, which can contribute to increased anxiety and depression, especially among young people. Furthermore, Housel explores the concept of growth and the potential pitfalls of pushing for rapid expansion. Drawing parallels between human physiology and business growth, he emphasizes the importance of understanding the natural rate of growth and the potential consequences of exceeding it. Using examples of companies and individuals, he illustrates how excessive growth can lead to instability and eventual decline. The podcast also touches on the intergenerational competition theory, which examines the impact of generational comparisons on individual well-being. Housel discusses the challenges faced by younger generations in achieving the same level of success as their parents, highlighting the psychological implications of societal expectations and comparisons. Additionally, Housel delves into the concept of survival of the fittest and the potential consequences of forcing growth beyond natural limits. Drawing parallels between human physiology, company growth, and personal development, he emphasizes the importance of understanding the potential consequences of excessive growth and the need to align growth with natural limits. The podcast concludes with a discussion on the impact of personality and behavior on different life stages. Housel emphasizes the importance of recognizing how personality traits that may be beneficial in one stage of life can become detrimental in another. Using examples of individuals and their evolving personalities, he highlights the need for self-awareness and adaptability in navigating different life stages.